Surgeons of Reddit, what is the longest someone has counted after to count back from 100 while putting them under anesthesia? Nurse anesthetist here. You assume the surgeons are in the room during induction, but often they're scrubbing or elsewhere while we put the patient to sleep. As to how far, it depends entirely how quickly they count and whether we're counting unintelligible sounds as counting. On average, I'd say they count to about 5 or 6 starting from 1, I want to say I've seen maybe to 15 in a heavy marijuana user. But in general I don't have patients count unless they ask to because anecdotally I think it makes them more nervous. Lots of people saying the surgeon isn't in the room when this happens. The surgeon was absolutely in the room for both surgeries I remember. The most recent one they didn't ask me to count. The surgeon was confirming the surgery like what I was getting and what my name and his name and stuff. Meanwhile, someone was strapping down my arms and explaining that it's so they don't get hurt flopping or something. Got me halfway into a panic attack, but then the anesthesia kicked in and I was knocked out. Not a doctor, but when I had surgery I counted down from 100. When I was at around 70 I was asked whether I was starting to get sleepy, but I wasn't. They had to up the dose twice before I went out. I think in total I got to about 50, but my memory gets a bit hazy there. Sleeping pills don't work on me either, like Ambien. Sometimes I worry about if I were to get in an accident whether they could sedate me quickly. Our surgeons are usually not in the room with us when we're helping someone during induction. The longest a pediatric patient counted was 24 seconds. We were shocked. The longest an adult patient got was 9 seconds. And it depends on whether someone's counting starts before the anesthesiologist starts pushing anesthetics or before gas is added to the mask outflow. And depends on how fast that propofol is pushed. On my third knee surgery while in the Marine Corps, I asked them if I could fight it after they injected me and see how long I can last. They told me sure. I'm not sure how long I lasted, but it felt like at least 30-60 seconds. I watched them wheel me through the double doors to the OR and do the little slide transfer thing to the operating table. I felt them strap on the oxygen mask and drifted off. I've never been asked to count backwards. For my last surgery, a disc decompression and replacement in my neck, someone anesthesia? Put a mask over my face and said breathe in some of this oxygen. It didn't smell right. I was about to cuss the guy out because I hate anesthesia and being intubated, but knocked out as the words were traveling from my brain to my mouth. Anesthesiologist here. There is a term we use called the arm to brain time. Typically around 18 seconds in a grown adult. The time varies due to several factors. For what it is worth, I have my patients count down from 100, using prime numbers only. Usually unconscious before they can state even one prime number. I got this routine from the pediatric nurse, after she inserted the anesthetic suppository prior to my tonsillectomy. When I woke up, my mother was, of course, sitting by my bedside. My first words were, I didn't finish counting. Mom, bless her heart, just said, don't worry honey, the nurse did it for you. Surgeon here. Typically we are not involved in the induction process. It's usually anesthesia that will induce. That being said, the whole counting backwards thing is pretty uncommon anyway, since once they push the induction agent, it's usually on the order of seconds before the patient is unconscious. When I had my tonsils out as a kid I wasn't going out and they told me I was lasting way longer than most 10-year-olds and eventually wheeled me into the operating room awake and gave me a balloon made out of a surgeon's glove to play with while they were prepping until I fell asleep. I had them ask about my weekend, which happened to be my birthday, and I just had a teddy bear's picnic party and was so excited to tell them. I still remember waking up so disappointed I didn't finish the story, and realizing they weren't expecting to hear it either. Smiley face, embarrassed smiley face. I just had my gallbladder removed on Monday, they gave me Vivarium or something by 4 before leaving pre-op. Within 5 feet, the room was going blurry. Last thing I remember is being moved from my bed to the table. I didn't even make it to counting back for anesthesia. I remember getting to 78, counting slowly, when I had my wisdom teeth removed. A bit before that they exclaimed they'd never seen someone make it that far. When I had a different operation they just dosed me in my 4, so I have no idea. There's a YouTube video by Steve-O from Jackass where he has a competition with a friend of who can stay awake from anesthesia the longest. This dude manages like 5 minutes circ. I've never heard the anesthesiologist complete the sentence. I've had multiple surgeries and all I get is now count ba. And I'm out. Weirdly I always remember being extubated and can still taste the plasticky silicone taste. Obligatory, not a medical professional, but I've been put under 4 times, and counting back from 10, I only ever get to 8. I'm always fully convinced I'll keep going, but it's nighty-night somewhere between 8 and 7. When I was a kid, mine didn't ask me to count down. She put a mask on my face and asked, "Can you tell me what bubblegum this smells like?" I answered bubblicious, and that was the last thing I remembered. Not surgeon, but I needed my wisdom teeth out and I was told to count down from 10. Remember getting to 3 while the doc and I were bullshitting about golf. Swear he looked at his watch during the countdown. Patient here, I was given propofol and was able to count to 10 before it hit for colonoscopy. But then for my breast reduction, I took 3 quick breaths with the gas mask and woke up 3 hours later. Most surgeons wouldn't know this because they come in the room after the patient is intubated. Most of mine come in the room after the patient is positioned, prepped and draped. I've gone under like 5x now. Later, the doctor said I fight it pretty long, and once I wake up like 20 minutes after surgery, I'm fine and ready to go. Each time I'd been put under anesthesia, I've only made it to 1 or 2 max. Literally one singular deep breath in, and I'm completely out. I asked the anesthetist if I could have the fentanyl first so I can see what the big deal was. Then I woke up from surgery. No clue. Not a surgeon or anything, but I've had a few surgeries myself. I've never gotten past 5 when counting from 1. And I'm a daily smoker. I was about 13 and had broken my arm. I counted backwards from 100 to 90 and they told me to slow down and start again. I got to 98. Twice it was count down from 10. 8 was the last one. I thought 7. And started to send the signal to my mouth but never made it. I didn't count either time I got it recently. Both times I woke up still thinking I was getting ready for surgery. I've been under twice and they never asked me to count backward. They just admin the anesthesia and walk away. Steve-O and Danny Way did a pretty dang good job, haha. Should ask anesthesiologists. Surgeons rarely in the room when patients are put under anesthesia. The furthest a patient has got counting up for me made it to 8. I counted 500 and then I woke up. Turns out it was a dream. They never told me to do this when getting anesthesia, lol.